How you doing, guys? This is Eric. This video is going to be about a new movie that came out on Netflix about a zombie apocalypse called Cargo, and it's starring Martin Freeman from, I guess he was from the original Office, I think, right? And he's been in a bunch of movies since then. But I wanted to go through the movie from a prepping perspective, tell you things that you could, lessons that could be learned from this, even though obviously it's a fictional scenario, zombie apocalypse. Like I always mentioned before, with the commonality of disaster, any disaster scenario has certain elements that are going to be the same, like the absence of support services, food and water, things like that, dealing with any sort of combatant, whether they're zombies or other people, and things like that. So there's actually a lot you can learn, or at least think about, and kind of brainstorm and mentally game plan for watching movies like this. And it's just fun too to think about that stuff, so you won't ever be caught off guard with any certain scenarios. So I just like to go through these movies with an eye to, first of all, I just like watching movies, but I also like to watch them with an eye to prepping and preparedness, specifically see what kind of things I would do differently in scenarios, what things I might do the same, things like that. So with that being said, if you haven't watched the movie yet, I would go and see it, because I'm going to have mad spoilers in this. I'm going to tell you a lot of stuff that happens in the movie, probably including the ending and major points like that. So if you're interested in seeing the movie, go check it out before watching this video any further. It's on Netflix. It's not an action movie, so just to get that out of the way, it's not like a super fast-paced movie. It's more of a drama, kind of a thought experiment about this sort of scenario. So I'm not going to tell you anything else unless you want to keep watching. So if you haven't seen it yet, go watch it. If you're still here, it means you already watched it or you don't care about spoilers. So this movie takes place in Australia, actually post, at least a few months post some kind of zombie apocalypse. And it's kind of an interesting scenario because it seems really bizarre to me that you would have an issue with something like that in Australia, because you could just go out into the, bush or whatever, and there's not enough people around for zombie apocalypse to really spread. But obviously in cities, that could always be a problem. But they seem to be on the fringe of the outback kind of territory. They're not in the major cities. But this is, like I said, a few months at least after, I think it says how long it's been, maybe even about a year. I don't remember exactly. In this particular zombie apocalypse, the virus takes like 48 hours to convert you. And the government, at least before it collapsed, had known kind of what was happening and had managed to pass out these little kits and everything that include like a timer. So if you've gotten bit, you can start the timer. You know how long you have. Obviously, it's not curable still. So the movie starts with Martin Freeman and his wife are on a boat, which we find out they don't really know how to use, just some kind of flat houseboat kind of thing, floating on the river, trying to get somewhere. They have a infant, and it's just the two of them. So there's a bunch of stuff, obviously, that the people do that's completely stupid, just like with any survival movie, that can be frustrating for preppers, but it's also realistic. So it's not that it makes the movie bad, because this is the stuff that would be happening in a survival situation. Most people aren't going to be good at dealing with this stuff. Most people are going to be making all these kinds of mistakes. So one of the first things in the movie that was like a mistake by the characters was they're floating down the river. They're low on supplies, like desperately low on supplies, only a couple days of food left. And they see a boat, like a sailboat, that's kind of like run aground in some like cypress trees or something. So it's shallow water. It's not far off from them, and it's just busted up sitting there. So the main character decides to go aboard the boat, and he does it without telling his wife, which is completely stupid, because not from a perspective of, oh, you should run things by your wife, but just this is like a survival situation. You need people to know what you're doing. Certainly she should be involved in this. Everyone that you have at your disposal should be involved in this, just for a safety perspective and being able to accomplish whatever mission it is. He doesn't take any weapons with him at all, which is completely stupid. As we see throughout the movies, these zombies are not hard to kill. They're not any harder to kill than like the Walking Dead type zombies. Bashing them on the head with a baseball bat would kill them. Stabbing them. He has like a gaff, but it's not like sharpened or anything. He just kind of uses it to poke around. And so that's completely stupid. He's physically not have any sort of armor or protective equipment on, even leather gloves. It's so crazy to me. And this is one thing I think is slightly unrealistic. If you knew that getting bitten is pretty much the only thing that these zombies can do to you to hurt you, you would definitely be wearing like a leather jacket, gloves, even just like duct tape or the plastic guards that dirt bikers wear, stuff like that. These are only human teeth. So even if they were like zombie rage, super powered, whatever, they wouldn't be able to bite through 2 layers of a leather jacket or big leather welding gloves or something like that. So not having basic level protective gear like that on at least your arms and like neck area where everyone in these shows gets bit is completely stupid. So that was the first mistake they made. He doesn't end up costing him in particular, but it is funny. So he goes in there, he gets some supplies, he hears something rustling around, and he just leaves. One of the funny things that people who are into preparedness would know is he comes back with just like a little cooler full of canned goods, probably no more than 20 or 30 individual cans. And he says to his wife, like, there's 3 months of, we got 3 months of food in here. And I'm like, what? There's probably not a week of food in there. It's, I mean, this is coming from someone also who's been in logistics in the military and into preparedness. I know exactly how much it takes to feed people, and it's shocking how much supplies you need for people for a long amount of time sometimes. And certainly 20 cans isn't going to do it, because most canned goods don't have enough calories to even sustain one person for a single day from just one can. If you get a big turbo can of beans, maybe even a can of chili, which is rich in calories compared to most other canned goods, still only has about 500 calories in the entire can. And something like a can of green beans doesn't even have 100 calories in it, or roughly 100, which is nothing. And a cooler full of that is only going to be maybe a few days worth of food for 2 people. So that was unrealistic, but that's neither here nor there. Then later, for whatever reason, the wife decides to go back out to the boat herself, and she makes all the same mistakes, doesn't tell him, doesn't take any weapons, isn't protected at all, and she does end up getting bitten. So then you're in a scenario where they're trying to get somewhere. They don't really have a goal. They're just trying to get somewhere where it's safe for the baby. He's stupid, and he doesn't put the wife out of her misery. Even at one point when she's like, I'm done with this. I don't want to just wait till I turn. Just end it here. And he refuses. They get in the car, and they at this point, they'd stopped, gotten out of the boat, found a car because they're trying to get to a hospital, even though they know nothing can be done. And he ends up getting bitten by the wife when the car crashes. So now he's in a scenario where and the wife, obviously, he has to put her down. He's now been bitten, so he has 48 hours to get the baby to someone who can take care of her. So that's actually most of the movie. This happens in the beginning of the movie, and most of the movie is him trying to find somewhere or someone who can take care of his infant child before he turns. And I'm not going to tell you everything that goes into the movie, because that was the major mistakes that they made. Now, obviously, there's nothing too serious that he can do because he's dead already. He's just trying to protect his kid. But the major mistake he makes after this point, the only real one I can think of, is he ends up meeting with this guy who turns out to be kind of crazy and who's kind of keeping a woman captive. And he ends up trying to like rescue the woman when the guy's sleeping. And they don't take the guy. The guy had a couple guns. He doesn't take the guns. They just kind of creep out of there and leave him there sleeping. And they don't either kill him or at least take the guns with them, which is completely stupid. And the guy wakes up and shoots him, and I think kills the woman at that point. So that was completely stupid. If you have someone who you know is going to be hostile, even if he wasn't going to kill him in that situation, because that might be a bit extreme, you should have at least held him at gunpoint, tied him up, or put him somewhere incapacitated, and tied him up in a way that he could get out within maybe 8 hours or something, and taken the weapons, or at least put them away to where he can't shoot after you while you're just running off into the darkness. So that was completely stupid. So those were the main issues for the movie from a prepping perspective. Certainly any zombie apocalypse, you got to always have a weapon with you, and you got to always have some basic protective gear if you're in any sort of scenario where the zombies are going to be able to get at you. Zombies obviously aren't a realistic problem, but hostile forces of some kind are, and so you never want to go out and not have your only partners know where you're at. What if something happened and you just got stuck in there completely innocuously, or in the boat, and the people are on your boat sleeping, or you get bit by a snake, or something? Anything could happen. There's just absolutely no reason why you wouldn't tell the people that you're with what you're up to. Everyone should know exactly what everyone's doing at all times. Have a plan for what you're doing when people venture off the boat, what to do if something happens when you're off the boat, if you encounter other people, all sorts of stuff like that. And you have to have a realistic idea of how much food can sustain you and for how long, because 20, 30 cans is not 3 months worth of food for one person, let alone for two. So just going to try to keep this video nice and short, just point out a few things. Like I said, overall, this was more of a drama and sort of just looking at what this would be like. It's kind of cool that it's in Australia, and that doesn't really come into play too much. But it's a very interesting movie. If you have Netflix, it's free to watch. I'd check it out. It's not great, but not bad. Interesting take on the zombie apocalypse. And let me know what you guys think about the mistakes that this character made if you've seen the movie, and what you think he did right. And post it in the comments. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll talk to you later.